Good morning, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order for May 2nd of Scarborough Community Council. I just wanted to note that a few members of council are away as they're on city business and not with us today, but they are on city business, and so therefore we just want to make sure that we have quorum and that everybody's going to hold tight in their seats today. So there's a few timed items this morning. We have SC 30.2, which is Minuk Acres, zoning amendment application file report, Ward 44 at 10 a.m. And then we also have SC 30.3, Scarborough Center Transportation Master Plan final report. That's for Ward 37 and 38, and that's also at 10 a.m. And so also, for this morning, we have a presentation. This is 5 minutes at the beginning. We'll have this right after we go through the agenda. And it's Mr. Mike Ellis of the Robbie International Soccer Tournament. And this has been going on for 50 years in our wonderful Scarborough, and even our former city of Scarborough, but within Scarborough, clear across Scarborough supports soccer. So we're really excited to hear that presentation. And even from my own Ward 35, I have Jim Barnes with us today, Clare Lee Soccer Association. It's been extremely active in Ward 35, and we've worked very, very closely. So just want to make special note of how much Scarborough loves soccer. And also we have Helen Smith, who's filling in today, who is waiting for the permanent appointment for Terry, but we're really happy to have Helen Smith with us today. So we're going to go first with the introduction and enactment of general bills and a bill to confirm the proceedings of Community Council for the last items. Moved by Councillor de Beer-Maker. All those in favor? That's okay. We'll do that. Okay, you want to do that? Okay. Okay, just the declarations of Municipal Conflict of Interest Act, seeing none. And then we just need the confirmation of the minutes from April 4th. That's what I meant. Sorry. The confirmation of the minutes from April 4th. Moved by Councillor de Beer-Maker. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And then we'll go to the agenda, but just prior to that, I wanted to make also another special mention that Councillor Chin Lee, this is his last meeting with us today, and Councillor Lee is retiring, so we're sort of happy about that, but sad as well. And I know for myself, I've loved working with Councillor Lee over the years, and I know all of us here, I would say in Scarborough, have a special relationship. It's different when we get down to community council. We have to work with everybody, which we do, clear across the city, all the councillors. But I will say that we have a special camaraderie here in Scarborough, and a special relationship, each one of us with each other. There's 10 councillors in Scarborough, and we do work very, very well with one another. And I think that that's something that we can be really proud of, and that Scarborough should be proud of. So I'm just going to allow Councillor Lee to speak for a few minutes, and because it'll be our last time. Well, I'll let you speak now.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Even my voice is becoming. Anyways, it is indeed been a journey for me. Can you hear me?
It's kind of low. I think you need to speak louder.
Can you turn up the volume?
Turn up that volume up there. Thank you.
All right. You want better now? No. Can you hear me? No? Okay. I think, can anyone hear me better now? All right. Yeah, I think they were ready for me to leave, so they even turned off my mic. Anyways, it's been a long journey for me, almost 12 years that I've been here at Scarborough Community Council. And even though I'm retiring, I will still be part of our community, where I live, where we all play in Scarborough, and part of Toronto. So I won't be far off, because I am part of Toronto and the Greater Toronto Area, and Toronto and Greater Toronto Area is part of me, because this is where I made my home in Canada. So our objective coming here is to ensure that we build a better community for ourselves and our future generations. That is why I believe in helping to continue the investments we make for our future. We have to build now so that we can have a better future. So it's important that there are other people that step forward after I am no longer in this council chambers to help continue to invest in the future. You know, I worked with a lot of staff, planning staff, our legal department, our transportation staff, to make our community safer and ensure that, again, we live in a safe community. Because as the former vice chair of the Police Services Board, it was my duty to have oversight over what the police did and to give instructions to the chief. But we cannot tell individual police officers how to do their duties, but we have oversight of the police chief. So those are the kinds of things that we all need to educate our constituents, our residents and our population, how governments run. It's not up to me to go and tell your neighbor, no, they cannot do that or they cannot do that. It's up to all of us to talk to our own neighbors to see whether we can work together. Because I've had a lot of calls that wants me to talk to the neighbors to tell them not to smoke in front of their house. So those are the kinds of things that are difficult sometimes. I understand that many councils do not do that because, when you go and talk to when I go and talk to your neighbors think, hey, you're telling them what to do, and likely lose the vote, right? But I do go and talk to them, okay? But most councils will not. But anyways, those are the kinds of things that when we live in this world, we share it. So we have to be considerate of others that are living in this world. So especially the vulnerable. So it is important for us who care and have a heart to help look after them. So although I take leave from this council and from City Council, I hope all of us will work together to build a better future for us and our future generations. Thank you, Michelle, the speaker, for allowing me a couple of minutes to, and also my good friend Jim Carigianis, who's I think behind me, for using his mic. Thank you, and all the very best to all of us. Thank you.
So Chin is without his mic, or it's coming back again. Thank you. And thank you very much, Councillor Lee. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go through the agenda. And as I mentioned, SC 30.1, which is the Robbie International Soccer Tournament, SC 30.2, 30 Minuk Acres Zoning Amendment Application Final Report, that's timed for 10 a.m. And SC 30.3, which is Scarborough Centre Transportation Master Plan Final Report, that's timed item for 10. And also SC 30.4 has a deputation, which is 1250 Markham Road, zoning amendment and site plan applications, request for direction report. So we're moving on now to SC 30.5, which is the designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 fire routes 1 and 2, Meadowglen Place, 1 to 37, William Kitchen Road, 65 Passmore Avenue, and 136, 138, and 140 Pinery Trail. And that's for wards 38, 40, 42, 41, and 42. So, is this Councillor DeBearmaker? Is this for, it's adopt the recommendations? Okay, so we're moving to adopt the recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And so this is SC 30.6. This is request for various exemptions for Nuit Blanche in Scarborough, which is September 27th to 30th. And this is Councillor DeBearmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move staff recommendations.
Okay, moving in staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And we have SC 30.7, which is the compulsory stop controls. This is at Chelwood area, and this is for my ward 35, and I'm moving to adopt recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 30.8, which is ward 36, parking review, Kingston Road between Midland and Highview Avenue. Councillor Crawford?
I'll be moving staff recommendations.
Okay, moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 30.9, which is Ward 38, proposed amendments to parking prohibitions, Town Centre Court. Councillor DeBearmaker?
Sorry, I'll move the staff recommendations.
Yep, moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 30.10, trunk access enforcement, 678 Markham Road. Councillor de Bearmaker.
Sorry, Madam Chair, I misplaced my number here.
Oh, it's SC 30.10, which is the trunk access enforcement, and it's 678 Markham Road.
I'll hold that for a bit.
Okay,
Sorry, Madam Chair, I had turned the page and I was looking at 11. And didn't want to go over to Councillor Karygiannis's ward.
yes. Okay, and SC 30.11, which is the U-turn prohibition, Brook Mill Boulevard. Councillor Karygiannis?
Moving staff recommendations, and I want to thank them for all their work, Madam Chair.
Or no, sorry, this one that we're on now. It needs to be withdrawn because it turns out there's already a bylaw in place. The signs just aren't up.
Oh, okay. So Councillor Karygiannis, there is actually a bylaw already in place. The signs are just not posted, so this one would just have to be withdrawn, and the signs will be posted. So you can, we can hold that if you want, and then we can
Can we
clarify.
hold this so I can talk to staff, please?
Yep.
Okay.
So that'll be held by Councillor Karygiannis. And SC 30.12, which is U-turn prohibitions, Cannon Gate Trail and Elmwood Crescent. Councillor Karygiannis?
Moving staff recommendations, please.
Yeah. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And we have standing prohibition, Collingsbrook Boulevard. Councillor Kelly, this is for Ward 40, and this is to move and adopt the recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 30.14, which is left turn prohibitions. This is in Ward 42, Councillor Shan, for 2825 to 2855 Markham Road.
Madam Chair, I'll move staff recommendation.
Okay, yep, moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 30.15, speed limit reduction, Kingston Road, and that's Councillor Hart.
I'll move staff recommendations.
Okay, moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And parking regulations, this is SC 30.16. This is parking regulations, Mance Road, Ward 44, Councillor Hart.
Moving staff recommendations.
Okay, moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And SC 30.17, which is endorsement of events for liquor licensing purposes in Ward 43, Councillor Ainsley, which is not here. Yep, oh, we do, great. Yep, we do, actually. We have a speaker on that one, which is SC 30.17. And this is a motion required to add to new business, and it's SC 30.18 in Ward 38, Councillor de Bearmaker, and this is a request for report, traffic control signals, Ellesmere Road and Grangeway Avenue. Councillor de Bearmaker, it's just a motion to add new business. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries.
Madam Speaker, if I may, the motion is simply to ask staff, to report back to the July. I had June in my letter, but staff have asked me to do it for July. So to report back in the July 2018 Scarborough Community Council with a report on the feasibility of installing traffic control signals at Ellesmere Road and Grangeway Avenue.
Okay, all those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And on SC 19, we also have a deputant. Yep, okay, this one does. Yep. Okay, sorry, okay. So this is by Councillor Thompson. It's the application to remove a private tree, 34 Cartier Crescent, and I need a motion required to add new business. And so Councillor Hart, and then moves that, and then all those in favor, opposed, and that carries. And this one is that the City Council adopt the recommendation. So
The speaker.
there is, yep, sorry. Great. So come back around to that. So that is through the agenda, and so the speaker up this morning is regarding the Robbie tournament. So it's Mr. Mike Ellis. Thank you, Mr. Ellis. And so you can speak this morning. You have 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you. Good morning, councillors, staff, and public. Just over 50 years ago, some soccer enthusiasts in Scarborough got together to plan an event to promote and advance the profile of soccer in this community and to contribute to community. They could not have imagined that the Robbie International Soccer Tournament would become the world's largest annual youth soccer event with proceeds to charity, all done through committed volunteer leadership. I'm Mike Ellis, and I'm proud and honored to be the chair of the Robbie Soccer Tournament, and two of our committee members, Vinci Angelone and Al Shackleton, are here this morning as well. Some of you know us well, others maybe not so much. This morning I want to speak about our objectives, this year's Robbie, and impact on community. When meeting at the home of John Wims, a former member of this Scarborough Council, they met John's 3-year-old son, Robbie, who was born with cystic fibrosis, a genetic disorder that affects lungs and digestion, ultimately fatal. Till then, the soccer guys didn't even know that Robbie was living with CF. Right then and there, they got the name for the event, the Robbie, and the community organization they were going to support, Cystic Fibrosis Canada. The first festival event, with 8 teams, raised $47.52. Total donations have now surpassed $1.75 million. We estimate that over 250,000 players have participated in the Robbie. A tradition began in that first year. The referees volunteered. They still volunteer. This year, almost 600 games will be covered. In July 2008, this council congratulated the Robbie for induction into the Scarborough Walk of Fame. In 2014, the Robbie was inducted into the Canada Soccer Hall of Fame as an organization of distinction. And we were also honored by Cystic Fibrosis Canada with establishment of the Robbie Research Award for Most Promising Area of New Research. The Robbie even has a connection to pop culture. The last line of The Weekend by the Bare Naked Ladies is Birchmount Stadium, home of the Robbie. For many years, that sign on the stadium trumpeted those words. It was a tradition to pass by Birchmount and see that sign. We hope certainly that it can be re-erected. To this year's event, our capacity this year is 460 teams of boys and girls aged 8 to 18. That's almost 7,000 players. Total attendance is estimated at 25,000. The event's too big to hold on one weekend. Our festival for players 8 to 12 is June 23rd and 24th. And with the support of Toronto FC, we'll be running the youngest ages at the Wexford Ashtonby Park near Pharmacy in Eglinton. Our tournament for girls and boys aged 13 to 18 will be Canada Day weekend, with finals Monday, July 2nd at Birchmount Stadium and Lamoureux Sports Park. In addition to teams from across Ontario, teams are entered from Quebec, the US, Barbados, and Cayman Islands this year. Over the years, teams from 30 foreign countries have participated. We'll be using 44 fields in 20 different locations, most right here in Scarborough. Our honorary chair is Scarborough's own Dwayne DeRosario, a multiple-time Robbie champion and Major League Soccer veteran, or legend rather. Our guest MC this year at our Friday, June 29th kickoff at the Delta East Hotel is going to be a longtime supporter of the Robbie, former Mayor David Miller. As to impact, some 20 to 25% of our tournament teams stay in hotels in this community. Those and other teams shop and spend in restaurants and other businesses in Scarborough. And I've provided in your package some of the economic impacts, but some of the key stats. Direct business sales over both weekends is estimated at $2.9 million. Total business sales is over $6.4 million. And total room nights during our events in the tournament alone is 2,200. so the event certainly has an enormous economic impact on community. When I began volunteering with the Robbie almost 20 years ago, our field permit costs were negligible. This year, our costs for permits, field lining, portable toilets, parking controls is about $20,000. So in conclusion then, I've described how the event was established to promote soccer and raise money for Cystic Fibrosis Canada. I've described our events this year on June the 23rd, 24th, and Canada Day weekend, and some of the economic impact. With their participation in the Robbie, the players, coaches, and their families make a difference in our community and in the lives of people they will never meet. To me, that's a hallmark of good citizenship. And as we say, always the Robbie, a Canadian and Scarborough tradition, make it yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And so first, we're going to go to a round of questioning. There's a lot of questions that councillors have. And also, I'll reorder the, how do we, Councillor Crawford has a motion. So do we reorder the paper in order for him to add a motion?
No, it's fine, it's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, and there will be a motion coming as well from Councillor Crawford. So we'll first go to questions. Councillor Karygiannis?
I was wondering if parking enforcement is present with us today, Madam Chair?
Parking enforcement. Is anybody here from parking enforcement? No, seeing, no.
Good morning, sir, and welcome to Scarborough Community Council.
Thank you.
Are you aware of some of the troubles that your participants have been causing the neighborhoods?
Of course, and you know that I'm aware of that, and we have discussed it, yes?
What measures of mitigation will you be providing for us, and especially for my area, where your folks have been double parking, have been parking at the corners, have been closing off sidewalks, you know, and we discussed it ad nauseum. What measures of mitigation will you be offering my constituents in order for us to still continue to support the Robbie?
We've experienced some parking issues in the location of Terry Fox Park, Bethune School. It's really the only area in Scarborough that we seem to have had these issues arise. We've discussed with parking control some of the things that we can do. I know staff have met with Councillor Karygiannis and presented our plan, and Councillor Karygiannis did give me a call following that meeting. We're going to be using parking available at the schools in the area, Bethune, Terry Fox, David Lewis, and Kobe School. There's a Good Shepherd Church in the area that will make parking available to us. At the corners, where there were certainly problems last year, we're going to be putting up bollards with tape in between and marking those off to try to regulate some of the controls, at least some of the illegal parking at those locations. And also in some of the streets to the east and north of Terry Fox Park, where there are laneways into the park, or pathways, we're going to put some more of those bollards and tape to control the parking in that area. Now, one of the other things that we're going to do as well is ask all of the participants coming to the Robbie to put a little sign in their front window with our logo, so that we know if there's some problems that it may or may not be our participants who have created those particular problems. So we're well aware of those issues parking around Terry Fox Park, and we're going to be doing our utmost to ensure that these issues do not rise again this year and beyond.
I thank you for that, sir. One final question. Will you have one person that is available and in charge in order to address any issues that should arise? Because last year, when I spoke to some of your volunteers on the ground, they just did not know who to turn me to, and basically I was told, sorry, we can't help you. Will you dedicate one person to be on the ground to answer?
On this Saturday morning, June the 30th, I will be there. And our committee is aware of things, and we will have people there monitoring things throughout Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you. Appreciate it, sir.
Okay, thank you, Councillor.
Great, thank you. And Councillor DeBearmaker?
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. And I have to say I'm a little bit embarrassed that I didn't know the details of the Robbie sign over at Birchmount Stadium. I must have passed that stadium a million times. Can you tell me a bit about the sign and when it was taken down? And 'cause I know Councillor Crawford's already told me he's going to move a motion, I think, to get it reinstated, but
Okay.
I wasn't aware of it.
Just a quick digression. One of our committee members is a friend who is a big fan of the Bare Naked Ladies, and earlier this winter contacted them and said, "What's your favorite reference, Canadian reference, in all of your music?" And they sent back a sign, at least a photo of the sign that used to be there that said, "Birchmount Stadium, home of the Robbie." So that kind of twigged us, said, you know what, we need that back again. I think during the renovations of Birchmount leading up to the Pan Am Games, the sign came down. And with a new supervisor in the area, there was a lot of junk that had accumulated in the stores area, and apparently that sign was just tossed out with other things. So that's what became of it.
So if Councillor Crawford does later on move a motion, you'd be very happy if we could get that sign, or even perhaps a newer, nicer sign to give the tournament some profile and to remind us all that there is this amazing event that takes place there.
That would be great. Thank you. Thank you. I have broached it with staff, so that I hope this isn't coming out of the blue to park staff.
And in addition to your operating costs, which are a challenge, are there capital costs that the organizers incur?
We buy portable goals, and beyond that, probably not. That we use the goalposts are usually fixed in the parks facilities, or things that we also use University of Toronto, Centennial College for our games as well. So everything is fixed there.
And what would roughly your annual cost be to host and run the tournament? In a very ballpark figure.
Very ballpark?
Very yeah.
Very ballpark. So 40 to 60 teams. It's about just short of 100,000 by the time everything is done. Because we also give to all of our participants crests. Crests have been done every year, and we know that people really value these things, and the crests alone are $8,000. So a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and the monies do rise. We try as much as we can to control things, of course. We're all volunteers on the committee. All of our gear is donated through Umbro. Umbro, if you're here, thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
So,
Great. Thank you.
We try to monitor very, very closely about what we do.
Any other questions? No, seeing none, and to speak. Councillor Crawford, you have a motion?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And I do know and remember the song fondly, and I will move this motion if I can. First of all, I just want to thank you for all the work that you do for everybody out in Scarborough. It's tremendous work. But I'd like to move that the Director of Parks, Forestry and Recreation report to the Scarborough Community Council on the feasibility of reinstalling the Robbie International Soccer Tournament sign at Birchmount Stadium. So we'll move that. I'll find out what happened, and if we can reinstall it, we'll do our best to do that. So I'd just like to move that. And
Great.
thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And our committee doesn't operate alone. We function also with the support of all of the 12 soccer clubs in this community part of this Scarborough Soccer Association. So again, it's a huge volunteer organization, probably 400 volunteers during the course of the event.
I have a question of the mover.
Yep, and questions of the mover, yep.
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm just wondering, Councillor Crawford, because I'll certainly support your motion, I'm wondering, would you consider it a friendly amendment if I added a clause that said along the lines of, and other ways the city can assist the organizers of the Robbie tournament?
Absolutely, sure. That'd be good.
Okay, I'll just speak briefly as well.
Okay. And anybody else to question the mover? Nope, seeing none. Okay, and Councillor DeBarmaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't know if I need to move that as a friendly amendment, but if, with Councillor Crawford's concurrence to say, in addition to the sign, and other ways the city can assist the organizers of the Robbie tournament, I think that would be a very productive and fruitful discussion. As somebody who, when I was little, I never got to play soccer. It just wasn't my skill set. But I would go down with my dad to Birchmount Stadium, and we would watch the Robbie tournament. We used to go to the Indianapolis Peace Games as well. So my father was sort of all Scarborough all the time. And I think this is something that Scarborough needs to celebrate and advertise a little bit more. I think, again, I don't mean to be bitter about the amalgamation in the megacity, but I think sometimes the amazing things that happen out in Scarborough aren't mentioned as often as some other parts of the city because there is a focus on the core. But when you look at the hundreds of people year after year, decade after decade, invite amateur sports to come to Scarborough, it is phenomenal. And I think it's something that we should all be proud of, that we should do more, that we should encourage our kids to do to the maximum extent possible. Certainly the price of sports, for example, hockey, is so expensive. That is amazing as hockey is. That's the sport that I played. A lot of children today, or their children's parents today, simply can't afford hockey or find it very challenging to put their kids in hockey. So soccer is that game that all of us can play on the street, and that with just a little bit of fees can enter in recreational leagues and develop and be strong and be happy and be healthy and to meet your neighbors. We have the entire United Nations living in Scarborough. So I'm sure that when the Robbie tournament's on, people will say, well, who is from what country? And I think we probably say with pride, you see that team that looks like the United Nations? That's Scarborough. So I'm very happy to support Councillor Crawford's motion to make sure we put up that sign to let the Robbie organizers know and the volunteers and the parents know that we are very proud of them. And I hope that our park staff will sit down with the organizers to say other ways that we can help them, including, as mentioned by Councillor Karygiannis, our parking enforcement staff, to make sure that if every once in a while, if there is some spillage, that we cooperate with the neighbors and make sure the tournament runs as efficiently as possible. So I don't know what those ways and means will be that our staff will talk to you about, but if you have a wish list, please feel free to forward it to some of the councillors here, including Councillor Crawford, who's the local councillor, and we'll, I'm sure, help you any way that we can. So again, thank you for all the good work that you do.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. And others to speak? Nope, seeing none. Okay, so Mike, thanks so much. I'm going to first move the motion here. And I really appreciate you coming out and all the work you do. I think it's for a great cause. And I know you've been working in Scarborough for so many years, and it's really phenomenal to see all the work that's been done throughout the years. So I really appreciate that. And, you know, sometimes there's issues in a community. We all have events in our community, and I hope for Councillor Karygiannis that will be resolved, and then you'll continue to do amazing work. So we're really thrilled with that. So I'm going to move to Councillor Crawford's motion, and with the friendly amendment that's already added on, that the Director of Parks and Forestry and Recreation report to Scarborough Community Council on the feasibility of reinstalling the Robbie International Soccer Tournament sign at Birchmount Stadium and other ways the city can assist the organizers of the Robbie tournament. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. Thank you so much.
Just before leaving, I wonder if I could do a little presentation to you.
That would be great. And so what I was going to do is Mike's going to present me with a wonderful T-shirt, and I would just love for everybody to come up and we'll take a picture of that as well. Thank you. timed items.
Yes.
We're good. So,
Yes, absolutely. Oh, all right then.
okay. Okay, so just moving on to item number 2, which is SC 30.2, which is 30 Minuk acre zoning amendment application final reports. We do have a speaker, which is Mr. Alan Reeves, who's the property owner. Is there anybody else to speak on this issue? So this is for 30 Minuk acres. No, okay, so seeing no other speakers, Mr. Reeves is going to withdraw from speaking.
Just wonder
and-
if Mr. Reeves still wants to speak, given there are no other speakers? Okay,
So,
Thank you,
seeing no
Chair.
other speakers, then Councillor Hart.
I'll take the item. I just first of all want to thank the applicant, Mr. Reeves, and in particular, city staff, and if I have to narrow it down to one individual, I'll narrow it down to Jeffrey Sinclair for a ton of work on this file. Took a long time getting here, but a lot of work by the applicant and by city staff, and I want to move the staff recommendations.
Great, okay, so moving staff recommendations, all those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. Great. And, okay, so that passes, thank you.
On item 3, we're starting with a staff presentation before we go to speakers.
Perfect, okay, great. So on SC 30.3, which is the Scarborough Centre Transportation Plan, Master Plan, this is the final report. And we're going to start off with the presentation from staff.
Yes, I'm wondering though on a point of order, if I could, because it is a timed item and we're past 10 o'clock, if I could actually just defer this and do the next item, 1250 Markham Road first. And the reason I'm doing that, and I do know there's a public deputant for number 3, but if the members from the Global Kingdom Ministry Church could just rise, just like you do every Sunday. So they're here with a very amazing application. I think it'll be a pretty quick item. I think number 3, the transportation master plan will take a little longer. So I'm just wondering so that they can all get back to their day jobs. If we do that one first, again, I do think it'll be relatively quick. And then we can do number
Number 3.
yeah.
So we're just going to reorder the paper. So Councillor DeBearmaker is requesting that we reorder the paper from SC 30.4 to go before SC 30.3. So all those in favor, opposed, and that carries. So we'll go over to SC 30.4, which is 1250 Markham Road zoning amendment and site plan applications, and it's a request for direction report. Councillor DeBearmaker.
And I think there's a deputation.
There
I
is.
I won't need, I think, a staff presentation unless
Okay.
other people do.
Yep, so so are there any other speakers on this item, which is 1250 Markham Road? It's SC 30.4.
Just Mr.
Nope, seeing none. And then, so the speaker,
Just Mr. Tang.
yep, but other speakers I was asking for. If there is any other speakers, they can come forward and speak to the clerks and add their name to the list. But the first speaker up is Mr. David Tang, and with partner Miller Thompson. Mr. Tang, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of committee. I act for the Global Kingdom Ministries with the applicant and owner of this property, and we're very thankful for both Councillor DeBearmaker and staff for processing this application. We are completely in support of the staff recommendations on this matter, and would ask that you make those recommendations. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And questions of the deputant? Seeing none. And to speak. Councillor Karygiannis, do you have questions? Okay, so questions of the deputant.
Good morning, sir, and thank you very much for coming in.
Morning.
Now, this is the church just south of the, of Progress,
That's correct.
and they have a huge parking lot.
They do.
So what you're asking us is to allow part of that parking lot in order for a condo development to go up?
It will actually not be a condo development. It's actually going to be a life lease development. But I think your question is really about where is the parking going to be provided, and the answer is there will be a new parking garage constructed to the east of the existing church building to accommodate both parking for.
Church building almost on the street on Markham Road?
Beg your pardon?
Isn't the church building almost on the street on Markham Road? How will you be able to put a parking space east of the church?
Oh, sorry, west of the church, I'm sorry.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
So how many parking spaces does the church have available at this very moment?
At this moment, I'm not sure, but it is the surface parking lot that is located to the north of the church currently.
How many parking spaces will the building be taking up?
It will occupy the majority of that existing parking lot space. The parking garage will be located to the west of the church currently, and
will
will
this
provide more than,
Will this
more than
parking
that.
Structure be abutting the East Highland Creek?
It will be between the valley lands and the current building, yes.
Have you spoken to and/or contacted TRCA?
The TRCA has been intimately involved in the review of this application.
Do you have a report from them? I don't see anything attached here. Do we have their okay?
The application has been reviewed. The TRCA has commented, and it has not indicated any objections with respect to this application.
All right, so I want to go back again, sir, and if you don't know those figures, I'm sorry that I'm going to insist. How many parking spaces are there at the church right now? For you to be an individual that is representing them and a planner and not knowing those numbers, I find that a little bit hard to believe.
I will, if you would bear with me, I can find out exactly and come
Put my
back.
time on hold, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair?
Madam Speaker, would you like our staff to assist as well, just to give the number? The pastors can do it as well, but our staff.
I'll wait for the applicant.
Okay. Jenny, Rod's there if you want.
That's fine. I need them to provide it for me. I didn't ask Rob. I asked him.
Sorry, he's asking the applicant, so.
Wait for the deputy, I thank you.
Yeah, that's fine. It's always, yeah.
Through you, Madam Chair, there is currently 235 parking spaces on the north portion of the site, the existing parking lot, for a total of about 450 across the entire site. What is proposed to be constructed is 1,100 parking spaces.
Sorry, you want to take, let's just slow this down a bit. The existing parking lot that's on the north has how many parking spaces?
235,
Are you going to be taking those up?
correct.
Are you going to be putting parking above ground or
Yes.
parking, and how many spaces would that
Both.
be?
There will be both above-ground and below-ground parking provided on the site at the end of this as a result of construction, and it'll be 1,100.
So you're taking 235 away and you're providing 1,000?
100, yes.
100. Okay. Thanks very much, appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And any other questions of the deputy? Nope, seeing none, thank you so much. And Councillor DeMarek, we're going to go to speakers now. Well, we bypassed that, yes, so. Are you asking questions of staff? No, because at the beginning, we didn't have staff speak, so we don't have questions of staff.
So we had a deputation, so we don't have questions of staff? Is this what you're telling me?
Yep, that's no problem.
Okay, I'd like to ask questions of staff.
Sure, so we'll go to questions of staff. And so Councillor Karygiannis.
Good morning, sir, and thank you very much. It certainly sounds like an exciting build. So my concern is about the parking. We have 400 parking, 285, I think, parking spaces right now, I heard the deputy say, or something like those numbers. And they're going to be going to 1,000. Are we correct in that?
Well, that's an overall number for the entire development. Is my mic on? That's a number for the overall development. The residential component of the project will be almost entirely parked underground. We are still working with the applicant on various configurations for the underground parking, but we will be achieving in the order of anywhere from 347 to 410 spaces for the residential component of the development. Now, at the southwest corner of the property, the proposed parking structure is actually going to provide 751 spaces with an additional 27 spaces. So for the place of worship use only, we will now have 778 spaces, which is an increase both well above the zoning requirements and well above the current capacity of the site for place of worship parking.
Going back to the question that I asked previously, the structure on the left, will this be above ground level, I mean, a few levels of parking?
That will be at-grade parking with 5 levels above. It's an above-ground structure, yes.
How close is that to the creek?
It's approximately 7 meters at the narrowest point.
And what's
To
the
the valley, to the property line, to the top of bank line, it's somewhat greater than
what's
that.
the allowance from TRCA?
10 meters from top of bank,
So this is 7 versus 10?
to the property line.
To the property line. So TRCA has signed off on this and they have absolutely no problem?
That's correct, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions of staff? Nope, seeing none. Councillor DeBoer-Maker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have an amendment, if the clerks could put it up, about the Section 37 funding, which remains the same through the negotiations. Again, on a matter of, I'll say, practice, I don't sit down with the applicant and haggle over price. I leave that to their lawyers and the city lawyers and the real estate people and the planners. And I'm sure you can all understand why. I don't want to be accused of saying, forcing a high price on a developer or giving a sweetheart deal to a developer. Even when it's a church, people can make accusations sometimes. So although I was not involved at all in the negotiations of the actual price, of course I'm involved in the allocations of where the funding goes to. And it's from where from $300,000 to make a park next to the church. The church has donated all of their floodplain lands and valley lands as per the TRCA request. Additional funding to go to Centennial Park for basketball courts, playgrounds and volleyball courts, and you can see the list there. So again, the church not only is giving us an amazing project of 565 seniors units, all of them affordable. It's really, the whole project is an affordable housing project, but they're giving us 565 life lease units here in Scarborough. And in addition to that benefit, and the benefit of having the church there and having a very large gym there and a very active food bank program and counseling programs, these benefits will go around the local community as well. Madam Chair, I do want to thank the members of the church, the pastors, who, I'll call this the miracle on Markham, that decided to buy an empty lot many years ago, came in and built, I think it's the largest church in Scarborough, if not the physical building, certainly the congregation. They're an active program. They've reached out to my residents across the street on Tuxedo Court who didn't have access to facilities and the services that we would all want, because of historically when they built Tuxedo Court, it's a high density, now it's a lower income community that had zero facilities built when it was built many, many years ago. They now have a church across the street that welcomes them with open arms. The kids play basketball there. People come in all the time and make use of the facility. This new development will be a very significant benefit. The church, again, came in, acted in good faith, sat down with our planners, and every single thing our planning department and the Conservation Authority and our Parks Department, everybody else has asked them, they've done in a cooperative fashion. There's really been no haggling or negotiating. It really is people working in good faith together to come up with a really, really good application that will benefit the church. It will benefit the 565 families or seniors living in those units. We've all driven up and down Markham Road. It's probably not the section of Scarborough you would take any of your relatives to if they came from overseas for a visit and they said, show me something amazing about Scarborough. You probably wouldn't go to that McDonald's and say, and here's the scruffy little piece of land next to it, and there's a big parking lot next to it. When this is finished, you'll have some really beautiful buildings. You'll have a frontage along Markham Street, Markham Road, so that as people walk up and down from the bus stops to the McDonald's to the office buildings from where they live in Tuxedo Court, they'll actually have a vibrant and healthy street frontage. It'll feel a lot safer than it does now, because right now there's an abandoned lot, and then there's a big parking lot, so when it's dark out in December at 8 o'clock at night, it's dark and it's lonely. When this is finished, they'll have the commercial frontage. They'll have lots of eyes and ears on the street. They'll have the big dining facility that will have dozens, if not hundreds of people in it at any one time. So it really is a phenomenal improvement for this little stretch of Markham Road, and that's due to a lot of very hard work from, again, and I keep saying the applicant because I'm used to that language, but really they are an applicant, and they are technically a developer, but they are a church. This is the first time any of them have done this, so they've all learned Planning School 101, Sewage Capacity 101, Transportation 101, Building Mass and Form 101. So the church has had, I hope what they will consider when it's all said and done, a wonderful learning experience. But I wish that every developer who had an application in my ward was as respectful and cooperative as the church. So I give this my full endorsement. It's a wonderful project. I'm very happy to have the church there, and I hope that they reach out to some of the other faith communities with the model that they're providing here for affordable housing, because I think the need for all affordable housing, including especially seniors housing, is something we really need in Scarborough. So I wish them the very best, and they have my word that certainly if I'm back, because there's an election coming up, if I'm back next year, I'll make sure that this application moves forward as quickly as possible. Thank you.
Thank you. And so seeing no other speakers and moving this amendment, oh, sorry. Councillor. Yep, questions of the mover? Yep.
Councillor, what is the overall negotiated price for Section 37?
Well, the overall price is $1.1 million, but I wasn't there during that negotiation. That's just what the staff told me when they finished their negotiation with the church.
How many units would that represent?
There's 565 units. And I think the church, bless them, when they first came in, were a little surprised that they would be expected to provide Section 37 community benefits, because their entire project is a community benefit because it is seniors affordable housing. They run a lot of programs, including soup kitchens and programs for youth outreach out of their church. So I think the church did scratch their head and say, well, we can understand a big developer coming in and being required to provide community benefits, but our whole building is a community benefit. But we did say to them, the planning process requires you to give additional community benefits, and those are the allocation that I think the church is in support of as well. But in terms of the exact price, I did not participate that in any way.
Okay,
that was recommended by our staff.
Any other questions of the mover? Nope, seeing none, thank you. And then on the motion, all those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And, okay, so that's, yep, item as amended. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. Thank you. So that is done, and thank you so much for everybody from the church for coming out. It's wonderful, and congratulations. So now we're going back to SC 30.3. And we do have a staff presentation on this one, which is the Scarborough Centre Transportation Master Plan Final Report.
Thank you, and through you, Madam Chair. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Scarborough Centre Transportation Master Plan. My name is Alan Filipuzzi. I am a Senior Transportation Planner in City Planning Division and have been leading the study since July of 2016. The Scarborough Centre Transportation Master Plan and draft OPAs represent the city's long-term vision to create a balanced and connected transportation network to support growth, investment, and the evolution of Scarborough Centre into a vibrant urban area. The study included an extensive public engagement program, including 16 planners and public space events, 3 local advisory committee meetings, where the local advisory committee consisted of residents and business owners from within Scarborough Centre and the surrounding community, and representatives from various community associations and stakeholder groups. Throughout the course of the study, there have been 3 public consultation meetings and an online survey with over 200 participants. This image illustrates the existing transportation improvements map in the current secondary plan. In contrast, the draft OPA before you provides a more robust and complete network of streets and connections throughout all of Scarborough Centre. The proposed street network is supported by an active transportation network, which includes the provision of dedicated cycling facilities and includes connections to the surrounding communities. The staff report identifies 6 key projects. The projects consist of both short-term opportunities and long-term projects to enhance the center's transportation network and to transform the area over time. The first 2 projects, the reconfiguration of Progress and McCowan as an at-grade intersection and the reconfiguration of Progress and Corporate, represent an opportunity to improve access and connectivity to and from key destinations and to regularize development parcels and support the growth and investment envisioned in Scarborough Centre. This image illustrates the McCowan corridor and the existing right-of-way and the remnant parcels of land that currently exist, illustrated in green. So the reconfiguration of the intersection at Progress and McCowan would free up these parcels of land for additional development in this key area in the centre. The new Scarborough Centre Library has transformed this portion of Borough Drive into a vibrant gathering place for the community. The project builds upon the momentum and transformation in this area and is an opportunity to rethink the southern portion of Borough Drive in line with the city's complete streets objectives and to improve the public realm by enhancing the pedestrian environment, adding cycling facilities, and providing on-street parking. Previous plans have long identified the reconfiguration of borough approaches. The SCTMP and draft OPA recommends the realignment of Borough Approach West with Packard Boulevard to the south and the installation of new traffic control signals, in addition to the relocation of the existing signals from Borough Approach East to Saratoga Drive, the decommissioning of Borough Approach East, and the reconfiguration as an active connection for pedestrian and cyclists, consolidating the Frank Faubert woodlot with the park to the west. The staff report identifies the extension of Bushby Drive from its current terminus to Bellamy Road as a medium-term project. It also identifies the extension of Bellamy Road North over the 401 to Milner Avenue as a long-term project. This project represents an opportunity to improve north-south crossing over the 401 for all modes, pedestrian, cyclists, and vehicles. And the image on the bottom left is an example from downtown Mississauga of Confederation Parkway, which is a similar crossing over Highway 403. This table illustrates the proposed schedule and implementation of the various projects. It's important to note that the Scarborough Centre Transportation Master Plan and draft OPAs represents a long-term vision for the centre and is a comprehensive package of projects that combined over time will enhance the centre's transportation network and support the growth and investment in Scarborough Centre. Lastly, the staff report before you recommends endorsing the Scarborough Centre Transportation Master Plan, directing staff to issue the notice of completion and to circulate the document to all relevant divisions, agencies, and commissions, endorsing the implementation of the projects identified, and lastly, to amend the official plan and Scarborough Centre secondary plan as proposed in the draft OPAs. Thank you.
Thank you. And questions of staff? Yep. Okay, yep. Councillor de Boermaeker.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. Oh, sorry, I think, do speakers go first?
Sorry?
Do speakers go first?
Well, we can go to questions of staff and then go to speakers. It's up to you.
I'd rather hear the deputants first because there may be some questions based on what they're saying
That we
to
can
us.
circle back around. Sure. And so we're going to go to speakers. And the first speaker up is Corey Estrella. And the next one is David Tang. And then Janice Robinson and Lauren Ross. If there are any other speakers that are wishing to speak on this, they can come down to the clerks and add their name to the agenda.
Good morning.
Great, Mr. Estrella, thank you. 5 minutes to speak.
Thank you. My name's Corey Estrella. I'm with Oxford Properties Group. We're the development manager and property manager of the Scarborough Town Centre land holdings on behalf of the owners there. The site's owned by OMERS and AIMCO, which is an investment entity out of Alberta, just so everybody knows who we work for. I want to start by thanking staff for the opportunity to participate in the Scarborough Centre Transportation Master Plan process. We were a member of the local advisory committee, and we've met extensively with staff on this initiative and other matters that are coming forward and are going to have impacts on the centre as we go forward. Through that process, we were able to have a very productive dialogue. We managed to discuss many site-focused issues, and I think it's fair to say, and I want to make the point, that the draft that we've seen put forward now and presented today reflects a resolution of many issues that were raised through the process. So as I move on through my discussion and perhaps deliver some critiques of a few points, I don't want that to be overlooked because we've done a lot of really productive work and staff have really been very collaborative on it. I think it's also important to note that we do share the city's vision for a diverse, attractive, and safe mixed-use community that ultimately is transit supportive, and helps facilitate and support the redevelopment and continued intensification of Scarborough Town Centre. We are in the process of bringing forward our own master plan to help guide that vision and look forward to working with the city on the Scarborough Centre framework study. I think it is important to note we are one of the largest landowners in the area and one of the most directly impacted if you were to look up at the map. Many of those new dotted lines cross lands that we have and will require a lot of collaboration, both in terms of development and making the necessary land exchanges and investments in infrastructure to see this vision realized. And so overall, I think my message is that we are positive and supportive of the work and the initiative. Now, unfortunately, I do have to make a few general critiques that I wanted to draw attention to. The first is that we do have some concern that the Scarborough Centre Transportation Master Plan did not include a detailed transportation capacity network analysis. At this time, we've not seen any numbers to support any indication that the network as envisioned will be able to support the current or future development, and that is a major concern for us in an auto-dominated retail complex that is very successful. We are concerned and we want to make sure that that capacity is preserved and planned for, and that urban design considerations don't override the need for cross sections, great turning and access to make this a really great center. Congestion will not be to anybody's benefit. So we have that concern and I draw it forward, and we do hope that through the Scarborough Centre focused framework study, some of that transportation analysis that detailed analysis is completed, so that as we work out the issues like road cross sections and timings, they're brought in. One of the reasons I draw that forward is if you do look at Table 2, you'll see that one of the items in Table 2 over the 0 to 10-year time is a lane reduction on Borough. I can't comment on whether that's advisable or not because I don't have the transportation data to support an opinion on that. So I draw it forward to say that this is work that we do want to see done and hope is done soon, and we look forward to working with staff on that process. I would also like to just make a couple of comments on points made in the staff report, specifically to OPA 408. There's a comment in the report that says that the 3 projects identified under OPA 408 are closely related to other public and private initiatives, including initiatives there being the redevelopment of the vacant former Sears land. I think I would just make the point that these are not, in fact, tied to them. In fact, if you were to try to tie them to it, there becomes inherent problems. We're working to redevelop in front of the subway so that those projects are coordinated, but these are intersection reconfigurations that will be dramatically impacted by the subway arriving in the construction process. So there's a timing concern there. Similarly with OPA 409, we are concerned that one of the primary funding mechanism is adjacent development identified, and there are concerns that these are projects that are more substantial than simply development-related projects, and they are city-building initiatives. So we look forward to continuing our work on how these will be funded and implemented. Finally, it brings me to my last point, and that's that I'd like to request that the OPA 409 specifically be deferred in the terms of when it's implemented or brought forward until after the Scarborough Centre focused review. We do have concerns, for example, with policy 4.6 in it, which proposes the redevelopment of the mall in the long term and integration of public streets, which is not something we believe should be put out as a public expectation in a planning document. The mall is not intended to be redeveloped. In fact, it is intended to grow and develop to support the mixed-use community that we all envision in this area. So there are some drafting concerns with a few sections, and we only just got this text the other day, so we think it would be better if the text was delayed until the Scarborough Centre focused review is completed, and then a comprehensive OPA can be brought forward to implement it. An endorsement in principle, I think, and a continue to review of screen projects and applications against the results of the Transportation Master Plan get us to the same point. So there's that, which I'm asking for, and that's one of the other concerns with policy 4.6, and is that there is a suggestion in the policy language that the city will secure access, public access through the mall to coincide with transportation service hours. So we don't know what they're going to be for the subway yet, but that somehow we'll be providing that. And again, that is not something we've previously had an opportunity to discuss, and it's a very costly and expensive proposition, and there's a lot more than simply saying, let's let people walk through the mall. It is a commercial center that is incredibly successful, and the success of which is important to the owners now and the redevelopment and the future vision for Scarborough Centre. So we have some concerns with the text. They're not fundamental. I'm not asking for a redraft, but we do think that delaying the adoption until after the focus review will allow that text to be refined and to account for the outcomes of the focus review. There's no point in making 2 amendments to transportation text over the next 18 months. So with
Great,
that,
thank
I
you.
think that covers my comments.
Thank you. Any other questions of the deputant? No, seeing none, thank you so much. And up next is David Tang. Mr. Tang, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to you, through you to the members of the committee. I'm still here on behalf of Global Kingdom Ministries, which is located at Markham Road, as you know. One of the things that this official plan amendment 409 does is it deals with the fact that there has been held for a long time the prospect of Bushby Drive being extended all the way to Markham Road. This review has made it clear that that is the least preferred option for the Bushby Drive extension, and the recommendation is that it be extended only so far as Bellamy. That we support. The specific amendments are found on the first page of Amendment 409, sections 4 and 5, which amend Schedule 2 of the official plan, and we would ask you to proceed with those. That would, in fact, allow the church to proceed with the development that lets the church integrate with the residential buildings that are being constructed, would allow for underground parking, rather than the possibility that the entire site be literally split in two by the possibility, but unlikely possibility, of there being an extension of Bushby Drive to Markham Road. So that's what I'm asking you to do, is to at least deal with Schedule 2's revisions, which are found in Amendment 409. Mr. Estrella has indicated he would like you to defer policy, I believe it was 4.6 or portions of 4.6, until the focus review has occurred. I would ask you that even if you do take some note of his requests, don't do that with Schedule 2, because this would allow site plan approval to now proceed in a way that makes sense for this site, to allow the residents to access the church directly underground without having to go outside and cross a driveway, and also allow the parking for those residents to be located, once again, given the fact that many of them will be seniors, to be located underground without having to go outside in inclement weather or to cross a driveway. So those are my requests. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any questions of the deputant? No, seeing none, thank you. And up next is Janice Robinson, Senior Associate with Goldberg Group. Thank you.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of Community Council. My name is Janice Robinson of Goldberg Group. I'm here representing the Gates of Scarborough Town Centre, Inc., a company under the umbrella of Conservatory Group, who own the land that's bounded by McCowan Road, Progress Avenue, Grangeway Avenue and Bushby Drive. The municipal address is 120 Grangeway. We're currently preparing a development proposal for submission of planning applications based on the existing urban design policies and land use policies and permissions. We'll be reviewing the proposed policies to consider what changes need to be put into the plans in light of these proposed policies. We request at this time that we be notified of any modifications that occur following this public meeting leading up to adoption of Official Plan Amendment 408 and 409, amending the Scarborough Centre secondary plan. With respect to the policies related to the Scarborough Centre Transportation Master Plan, we appreciate that the city is looking to reconfigure and normalize the intersection of Progress and McCowan Road to an at-grade intersection. This could have grading implications that affect the design and financial implications arising from the cost of the planned intersection normalization. We request at this time that we be consulted on and have input into the engineering design associated with the transportation improvements. And we also request the opportunity for advance input and comments on any of the costs that are associated with the intended design and grading work, and any requests for financial contributions as early as possible in the process. Thank you. Those are my comments.
Thank you. And any questions of the deputant? No, see none. Thank you so much, Janice. And Mr. Lauren Ross is the final deputant.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Lauren Ross for Glen Andrew Community Association. They've asked me to speak particularly with respect to the proposals that you're being asked to approve today on McCowan Road, and especially the demolition of the overpass and the changes to the various ramps that give access to and from McCowan Road. And I wonder if I could ask the staff to put up a graphic that'll help me explain the community's concerns. Madam Chairman, I met with the staff on the 23rd of April. Thank you for the meeting. They clarified two very important points to the community group. One is that the planned TTC bus garage, which is located off of Triton, in this location, at 34 bays, is the largest bus depot in the country. Not just in the city, in the country. Nobody's even close. Secondly, those buses coming out to Triton today will be about 60 meters from a new signalized intersection if you demolish the overpass and create traffic lights and pedestrians crossing the road. It's also important to note that that bus depot is absolutely vital to the success of your subway. You have a very rare occasion in Canada at the moment, as Mr. Karigianis in particular can recognize, that all three levels of government have agreed on something. Doesn't happen very often, and in this case, they've agreed to fund that subway extension. 80% of the riders to that subway will come by bus for the foreseeable future, and the majority will come from northern Scarborough, and the great majority of them will come down McCowan Road into that bus depot on Triton, and then returning in the afternoon, going back up to Councillor Shan's ward, Councillor Karigianis' ward, Shin Lee's ward, and Norm Kelly's ward if he were here. The second graphic, Alan, if I can ask you to put it up, is a detail from the TTC's design of that bus depot. This is McCowan Road. This is the subway station underneath. This is existing Triton Road here. TTC intend to make the 2 lanes of Triton inbound and then make another 2 lanes north of it outbound. So buses that are heading north will approach McCowan Road here, and when the signal is correct for them, traffic is stopped on McCowan, they will proceed north to take all your residents back home at night. And they will run right into a new signal, which is supposed to be 60 meters north of that bus entrance. Madam Chairman, you are running an amazing number of buses out of that new bus bay. somewhere in the order of 2,300 buses a day out of that bus terminal. It's absolutely vital that you not put another obstacle in the way of the efficient operation of that bus terminal. So I asked staff on the 23rd, have you done a traffic operations analysis of exactly how that many number of buses are going to come out of that exit onto Triton and go through that signal when there's 30,000 vehicles a day already on McCowan Road? And the answer was no, they have not. They're confident it will work. Madam Chairman, I'm going to suggest to you that to potentially jeopardize the largest investment in this city's future, which is the extension of that subway, by placing a new traffic signal 60 meters north of where the buses come out to serve all of northern Scarborough, you should not do so on faith. I think you should defer that recommendation until such time as you've got a thorough traffic engineering study of how that will operate. And I'm going to suggest you have it peer reviewed so that you have an outside opinion as to how it's going to work before you approve it. Other aspects the community has asked me to speak to are the city intends to civilize, urbanize that piece of McCowan Road across the face of the bus depot with bike lanes, pedestrian sidewalks, shops, restaurants, cafes, a lot of pedestrian activity. Madam Chairman, that puts people walking right across the face of that bus depot. At the same time as all the buses are turning into that depot or turning out, you are encouraging pedestrians to walk on it. Madam Chairman, you've got 18 kilometers of streets in Scarborough Centre. They all need to be civilized. Agreed, no question about it. That's where you can put restaurants, shops, stores, cafes, bikeways, and whatever. You do not need to do that with every kilometer in our center, and you certainly don't need to do that if you interfere with the movement of buses into and out of that bus terminal. Lastly, that part of McCowan Road is in a ditch, it's below grade, it's extremely noisy today, and when you run 2,300 buses through there, it isn't going to get quieter. That's not the kind of place you sit outside, have a cafe, check your messages, and talk to your friends. Civilized streetscapes throughout Scarborough Centre, not there if you jeopardize the function of that bus terminal. Thank you.
Great. And questions of the applicant? Councillor de Boermaeker?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. And Mr. Ross, do you have any familiarity with the old Scarborough official plans and some of the history to this site?
Yes, I have some familiarity with it, yes.
Any former roles that you used to hold that might be relevant to the discussion of these official plan amendments?
Yeah. Do I have something that's relevant to the discussion of?
Yeah, no, sorry, and I'm trying to maybe tease out of you that you were our Scarborough Planning Commissioner.
Yes.
Before the amalgamation.
I've been a professional planner dealing with Scarborough issues since 1974.
Yes, not to degrade any other speaker who might come forward as a citizen, but you have professional training as a planner.
Yes.
Your entire career's been in the planning field. You are our planning commissioner for Scarborough. And during this process, so I want to thank you for your input now. You said you met with staff. Could you let us know more specifically when you said, can the buses get in and then can the buses get out? What did our staff say to you?
They're confident it will work.
And was that TTC staff or city staff?
City planning staff, transportation staff.
Okay. And you're saying that you're uncomfortable with that level of assurance?
If there's the slightest risk to the success of a $3.5 billion investment in our transit future, and I believe there is, were I a councillor, I would want to see a traffic engineering study peer-reviewed before I said, go ahead and spend $19 to $28 million to tear down that overpass.
And so if I moved a motion today, and we've had numerous discussions over the years.
Yes.
But if I moved a motion today saying, before we look at all of the EAs for the McCowan Progress Interchange, that we do the traffic operation analysis and a peer review and actually look at the feasibility of the Span McCowan concept, which this community council adopted before, to see how they compare, that would make you more comfortable.
Well, to clarify here for the members of council who might not have been here in 2012, Glenn Andrew participated in an initiative in which we join the staff in saying McCowan is a ditch, it is a barrier to the movement of pedestrians and cyclists and people with handicapped access issues from one side of McCowan to the other, no question about it. How do you get across McCowan safely? Their answer is to demolish that overpass and give you a signalized intersection where you will cross the traffic at grade. Our answer in 2012, which was endorsed unanimously by this council, a very rare event at the time, was to further explore building a deck over this portion of McCowan, possibly making some public open space while you're at it in an area that really needs it. And if not, just make it a functional pedestrian crossing. That was approved by this community council and sent downtown. There was a further report, not terribly thorough in my opinion. The community council endorsed again in 2014 unanimously very specific directions to staff to bring forward a thorough engineering examination of how to build a deck over this part of McCowan, possibly with park features on it, and report back. That was endorsed by council as well, sent to the committee, and unfortunately the committee chairman moved receipt, and it just stopped right there. So we share the same objective as your planning staff. Please move people safely from one side of McCowan to the other, but don't interfere with the operation of Canada's busiest bus terminal and jeopardize your subway when you do that. Those two things need not conflict. Can you imagine walking over McCowan on a deck, which is hopefully functional and attractive? There's absolutely no conflict with vehicles doing that. You're guaranteed 100% safe. If you force people to walk across McCowan at a signalized intersection with the kind of volumes of traffic we're looking at, including massive amounts of TTC buses, many of which are turning, you're not 100% safe. So yes, I think that should be revived from the committee that put it in the round file in 2014 and examined as an alternative to demolishing the overpass. The costs are awash. The cost estimates you got for the Span McCowan deck, which was a big piece of open space at the time, are approximately the same as the cost estimates to demolish that overpass. So you're not talking a financial difference here.
And through you, Madam Speaker, there's a table here, which I'll be asking staff later, recommend that we reduce some of the speed limits in Scarborough Centre, Ellesmere, Markham Road, for example, from 60 to 50, and Progress Avenue from 50 to 40. With your consultations with local residents, can you give us the thoughts and the feedback your association received on proposing to lower the speed limit on Ellesmere and Markham Road from 60 to 50?
Madam Chairman, Glander has been a part of this process since the beginning. We sit on the Citizens Advisory Committee. We've read all the reports. We have never heard the slightest peep out of anybody to suggest they're lowering the speed limit on all those streets. This was news. To whatever extent you're being asked to approve those today, don't do it until there's been some legitimate community consultation. There are homes and businesses that depend on those roads. To throw that in at the last minute.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. And any other questions of the deputant? No, see none. I just have a few quick questions. I do, Lauren. So I remember when that the group came forward, and you had a big vision, like a master plan for that particular area. So was the overpass? I remember the overpass was part of that. Is this in 2012?
I'm sorry, I have a difficulty hearing. The overpass was built?
So when you were, as part of that plan, back in 2012, you proposed a revitalization of the overpass itself, correct? What was that?
What was it?
The overpass.
The Span McCowan proposal?
Yes.
We propose to leave McCowan as it is, as a road. But we propose to build a deck from the east side of McCowan, which is higher than the actual road, over to the west side, which would allow, if it were wide enough, the development of public open space, as you see in many cities across the world, beautiful open space on decks, including the public open space being built here right now to extend Albert Campbell Square. It's on a parking garage. So you can clearly build quality open space on a concrete structure, whether it's over a parking garage or over a highway or over a road like McCowan. But even that's an option. If you really want to go cheap, if you just want the function of moving people safely, a much narrower deck like Councillor Layton has had approved and is being built in his ward to connect Liberty Village across the CNR GO line downtown. His was approved at about the same time that Span McCowan came forward. It's under construction this summer.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. And any other councillors wishing to question? No. Okay, thanks so much,
Thank
Lauren. And, okay, so questions of staff now. We'll move back to staff. And Councillor de Boermaeker.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair, to the, sorry, I know they're behind me, but to the appropriate staff. I guess my first focus will be on the McCowan Road and Progress interchange. And you've heard the concerns of the ratepayers groups. You've met with them. Their concern is with that volume of buses coming in to the station and coming out of the station, and with if there's a new proposed light just 60 meters north of the subway station, that those buses will, I think a bus is maybe 20 meters long, I'm not sure, but those buses will not be able to get through the interchange efficiently, and they'll back up and create chaos and congestion. Can you let us know what your thoughts are, and if what level of study you've done on that intersection?
Through the chair, we have been designing the bus working with the TTC and the design of the bus terminal and subway to take into account the concept of bringing Progress and McCowan to grade, and working with transportation services as well, and some of the initial analysis of whether that could work. Certainly there is additional analysis that will be required as we go through the further stages of the environmental assessment and more detailed traffic analysis, but are confident that there are solutions that could work with an at-grade intersection there.
Again, through you, Madam Speaker, so I'd say all of you pretty much are intimately involved with the subway design and the bus terminal design. Is it your opinion that volume of buses can come out onto the road without causing traffic congestion or backups of buses that are filled with passengers?
Through you, Madam Chair. The exact number of proposed buses, bus movements out of the bus terminal would be about 280 in the peak hour, from our understanding of the Scarborough Subway Extension Project. The detail, it's an important piece to be reminded of. This is a transportation master plan where we're setting the framework and direction for Scarborough Centre to evolve over time. Subsequent work would be required to advance detailed design and subsequent phases of the EA to look at the exact spacing and alignment. There was reference to 60 meters. The numbers that we've seen range from 80 to within that distance. So the specific design in terms of where that at-grade intersection will be or will land at the end of the day would be the subsequent phases of the EA. So that work is yet to be completed. And in terms of the operations, as my director mentioned, the operations and coordination of the signals will be assessed through that study also.
Okay, and through you, Madam Chair, so I guess my question, and maybe is a philosophical chicken or egg question, do you do that detailed design in the environmental assessment, or should you do that that specific analysis on the bus turning movements before you do the EA?
Through the chair, that would be an important part of the EA process. Part of what we're trying to do as well in this, Councillor, is to advance the concept of bringing Progress and McCowan to grade in order to advance this to align with construction of the subway and bus terminal, if at all possible, because we've got a narrow window of opportunity. And so we want to get agreement from Council on the concept and then undertake the further work that will allow us to sort out the details of how it will be operationalized.
Okay, and through Madam Chair, I'm going to sort of jump over to that chart in the report talking about the change in speed limits. Is that's, I'm assuming then, not part of the official plan amendment? Is that just, is it an actual recommendation that we're adopting today, or is it something that we would consider in the future?
Through you, Madam Chair, that's correct. There isn't a specific recommendation in terms of reducing the speed limits. The study focused on a safety aspect in terms of the entire transportation network, so looking at improving pedestrian and cycling and vehicular operations throughout the center. So those specific recommendations or speed limit reductions would be implemented through a Vision Zero program with transportation services, but there's no specific recommendations at that time to make those changes.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And any other questions of staff? Nope, seeing none. Thank you very much. And to speak, Councillor de Beermaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll move the staff report with the following amendments, and there's about 7 of them, and I think I just finished some of them last night, and I think the final ones were this morning, so I think the clerk had an opportunity to pre-circulate them to my colleagues, and I'll go over them quickly, not word for word, but just the thrust of them. There's a motion asking our staff to review the information and requests within the correspondence and deputations considered by Scarborough Community Council today and report directly to Council with any recommended changes to the master plan if necessary. Because I've heard and seen some of these people for the first time today. I think they've maybe been involved in a lot of other aspects of the plan, but given that some of the letters submitted to us were literally submitted to us today, I'm asking staff to look at those. Yeah.
So we're going to just put them up on the screen, go through one by
sure.
one, and then you can explain
Sure. So
each one. It just makes it a little bit easier.
I think that's the first motion, or that's the motion that's on the top of my file.
I know there's so many,
Yes.
but that's important. And I'll hold your time. Great, so we've got the motion 1 up there, so we've got 1 so far.
And I may meander because I'm going to speak based on, not on a package, but
Yep.
as they come up.
So there's the first
So
one.
this one's just asking staff to review all the information that was given to us today, and if it's necessary, come forward with amendments. If they review everything and say, no, we don't think it's necessary, then they don't have to put in a separate report, but just in case they've learned something new today.
Okay,
And then the next one,
is number 2, yet the staff review the information and requests within the correspondence and deputation submissions considered by SCC and report directly to
Yep.
Council. So this is,
that's the one I just addressed, and then the
Yep.
next one. Yep, the first one, now the next one. That's looking at the reconfigurations. Just a second. That's fine, whatever order you have them in, it doesn't matter to me. They're all the same thing, basically. But again, it just asks our staff to undertake the design and cost estimates of the sections of Borough Drive. There's another one there.
is there a next one?
These have been all on the books for many, many years. My frustration as a local councillor, Peter Nohammer and I don't, is Marco, yeah, there he is still there, but I think we have walked these streets on, I'll say, certainly more than once, a number of occasions, and we still haven't progressed as far as I would like to, so I'm trying to get it more formal. Both Peter Nohammer, for example, and John Mendes had suggested that we would, quote, normalize the intersections on Ellesmere to make it easier for all of us to get into and out of the Civic Center. Well, it's 2018 now, and it hasn't happened, and now I have a report saying in the next few years we're going to have a look at it. In fact, when we walked the site with about 5 or 6 different professional staff, I was told that the design of those intersections would take place in 2017, and they would actually be built in 2018. That was the latest round. I go back 6 years ago when staff said the cost to normalize those intersections would be about $1 million, and that it would be in the budget and it would be built, and it just never was. So I'm just trying to push some of this forward. So again, we're asking staff to report back for 2019, even though it has been promised to me years and years and years and just hasn't got done, but I'm hoping that we can at least in 2019 and maybe even 2018 design it, because every time I say to staff, let's get that intersection normalized and fixed, they'll say, well, Councillor, first we have to design it. And I'll say, yes, we were on this site 2 years ago, and you said you would design it. And before you were on the site, 2 years before that, Andy, and I can't remember his last name, another one of our senior transportation staff was on site with me saying, Councillor, this needs to be fixed, we're going to fix it. First, we have to design it. So I hope this will take place in 2019. This is all within the staff report. It's just a motion trying to facilitate it. Sorry, are you ready for the next one? Yes, yeah. Okay. Yeah, sorry. And this is just when we normalize those intersections on Ellesmere. I have met with the Ratepayers Association. They did survey their members. Some are for it, some are against it, some want it with conditions. So we thought once that signalized intersection is there, we would allow it to go on for 6 months or a year. Transportation staff could get, if you will, a snapshot before the lights are installed, and then 6 months or a year later after the lights are installed, and if it's working well and the residents are happy, then it would stay the way it is. If the resident said, no, there's too much traffic infiltration, there are people speeding down our residential street and creating unsafe conditions, then staff would report back on any mitigation measures if required. And is that all of them?
There's too many to go through.
And I'm just, for peace of mind for myself and the ratepayers, that we're just saying that all the speed limits in this area stay the way they are now. Again, we all drive on Ellesmere. To lower that speed limit from 60 to 50, it doesn't make sense to me. That does need more public consultation if it's going to happen. I think, is that all of them? Oh, sorry, finally, the motion about, yeah, no, that one is done. We just did that one. I think the last motion was the, as Mr. Ross just presented to us, the McCowan and Progress intersection is a very important decision that this council is going to make. We have a $150 million bus terminal there. And so I'm asking staff to move forward with that and doing the environmental assessment, but subject to doing the traffic operation analysis, making sure we get the comments from the TTC, make sure we do the peer review, and also bringing forward the staff report that we've asked for twice that just has died in the black space of the Toronto mega city, that staff come back with a report on the feasibility of the Span-McCowan proposal to see if that's a better option and a safer option than what's currently in the master plan. And I don't know the results of what that will be, but I think we should undertake that study. And I think that's all of them.
Great.
And those are my comments as well.
Thank you. And
other than saying, sorry, it's a very good study. There have been a lot of stakeholders and a lot of public meetings. Some of these things won't happen for the next 20 or 30 years. But as I've learned, when I started working here in 1990, I said, who cares, a 30-year plan, who cares about a 30-year plan? Well, 30 years later, here I am sitting in this council chamber going, oh, these 30-year plans actually are very important because they give us the direction of where we think we want to move to, the space we want to move towards. So I think it is an excellent plan, and I'll say with this, some of the tweaking here and encouragement of staff to actually do some of the work that they have promised me on numerous occasions that they would actually do, and unfortunately, through, I'll call it my lack of stick handling hasn't got done. I hope we'll move forward with this and have a very successful and vibrant city centre.
thank you. And so we have questions of the mover, and so we start with Councillor Lee.
Thank you. And I have to move over here. I lost my microphone. I assume that you have passed all these amendments and motions through staff, and they agree with it?
Yes, all, but the last one was just this morning that I sent in. Just a second. With the one asking for them to get the comments from the TTC and comparing to the Span-McCowan. I have not talked to them about those two clauses, but those are that clause has been endorsed by this community council twice unanimously.
Thank you.
But all the other ones, yes, they've read them. And I think if I can, I don't know who was, but whoever, yeah, they contacted my office earlier yesterday and said that they had reviewed them and they were comfortable with them.
Okay, and any other questions of the mover? Okay, and, to speak, yep, we'll go to speak.
You got enough changes there?
And so to speak first, we'll go to Councillor Lee, and then we'll go over to Councillor de Boermaeker.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I look at this and this whole area is changing quite a bit with the subway coming and so on, and everything needs to be looked at. And last night when I was talking to some residents that just live north of the 401, they're telling me that you know, they observed that a lot of residents coming to this area when they are pedestrians, playing dodgeball with cars speeding and so on. So I think that needs to be considered as part of our Vision Zero to ensure that all the traffic signals and redesign of this whole area needs to take into consideration pedestrian safety. I mean, I attended the Vision Zero presentation from staff on Monday, and a lot of changes are coming in terms of redesigning of streets and so on. So I think that audit needs to be taken into consideration, especially when we hear from residents that you know, they watch the dodgeball being played between cars and pedestrians and cyclists and motorbikes. So it's very important for us to consider this and to move this forward. I fully support it, although I won't be at council to vote on it, but I think we need to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. And any other questions of the mover or to speak? No, okay. And so I'm just going to see if we can take these as a package, and so we'll vote on them as a package. Okay. And so all those in favor of the amendments as a package? Those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. And as amended? Opposed? And that carries. Great. Thank you. And so that passes, and thanks so much, everybody, for the work on that. And then we're moving over to, first, we still have a few more deputants on a couple of items. The next one up is SC 30.17, which is endorsement of events for liquor licensing purposes. And we have Miroslav Glavich.
Yeah, the next finish line. No, I'm good. Thanks, Kelly.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Glavich. And so you have 5 minutes to speak. Thank you.
17, right? Okay.
Yes, this is number SC 30.17 for Ward 43.
Yeah, okay, there's two attachments or whatever you're gonna call them, one from Councillor Ainsley for the Gilded Life and one with Councillor Crawford, so I'm gonna talk about the Gilded Life. And I live in Gilwood. I attend the Gilded Life. It's a very good festival. I think you should all attend, especially Councillor Hart, because we get a lot of people from your ward. Your constituents come to the Gilded Life and Gill Park throughout. There is a little area fenced in with food, with alcohol. Nothing wrong with having a beer outside. You know, and I think you should follow through. As a resident that goes there and is active in my community, it's a good event, and you should support the letter.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. And any questions of the deputant? No? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much. And on that item, Ward 43, who's that? Oh, Councillor Ainsley, sorry. And then Councillor Crawford moves it on behalf of Councillor Ainsley. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. And then moving on to SC 30.19, which is the application to remove a private tree, 34 Cartier Crescent. And we do have a speaker, Mr. Eric Lung. Yep, it's SC 30.19. And so do we have Eric Leung? He may not have waited. So I'm not seeing him here. And okay, so this one is in Councillor Thompson's ward, and so we're going to move the staff recommendation, and that City Council deny the request for a permit. And I'll be moving the staff recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. And there's just a couple of held items. Councillor de Beermaker, you were holding an item you were checking into.
That was on the truck arrestor, as we call it.
Yes.
Sorry, Madam Speaker.
Yep, so that's Councillor de Beermaker, and that is SC 30.10, which is trunk access enforcement, 678 Markham Road.
I'll just move receipt. I think the staff recommendation is receipt. I'll just move receipt of that. I believe that the applicant on SC 30.19 about the application to remove a private tree, I think might be here, and if they are, I would just move, if they are, okay. I would move reopening so that we can hear the deputation.
Right, okay. Oh, wonderful, so you're here.
I'll move my receipt.
Sorry, I thought it was going to be a little bit longer and I had to get back to work.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time, sorry.
That's okay. So Councillor de Beermaker's opening is moving to reopen. All those in favor? Opposed? And that carries. So it's reopened, sir. And so this is the application, it's your application to remove a private tree on 34 Cartier Crescent. And so you have 5 minutes to speak.
Good morning, council and staff. Yeah, sorry, I didn't know what I was supposed to do. So, yeah, I'm just hoping to be able to get the tree permit to be approved that way, because right now it's just a big tree that's blocking the whole house. And around the whole neighborhood, there's no other, like the lawns are all cleared. So I'm hoping it's all mulch underneath, and also the sap is falling all over my interlock. And it's also, from the previous owner, I was told that actually that the tree actually caught on fire once from the hydro lines. But that one, I don't have 100% proof of that. So yeah, for that reason, I'm hoping to be able to remove the tree, and then I can plant grass and then regrow another tree and put bushes and other flowers around there.
Okay. And, okay, so is there any questions of the deputant? Nope, seeing none, thank you. And then we're going to move on to staff. Yep, so thank you, Mr. Lung.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And so we're just going to hear from staff on the, so staff recommendation is to deny the permit application. So we just want to hear from staff on the state of the tree and your professional opinion, sir.
Hi, Madam Chair. Oh, there we go. Okay. The tree is I think most of it's in the report. Urban Forestry's reviewed the tree, found it to be healthy. It's a 41 centimeter blue spruce. It is fronting the house, as you saw in the picture. We didn't see any obvious issues with damage to anything or concerns. There was no way to verify the sap dripping issues that I could see. And we went forward with the report as this, right? The tree is healthy as per the bylaw. Healthy trees are not to be removed.
Okay, and questions of staff? No? Okay, thank you very much. And to speak, Councillor Maker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll like you had done earlier, I'll move the staff recommendations, and I note in the report that the staff found no evidence of the tree impacting the house, driveway, sidewalk, or overhead utility conductors was observed at the time of inspection. Like Mr. Leung said, it's a big tree, and maybe it's not to his liking or to his aesthetic taste, but the fact that he even said, well, this is sort of the only big tree around here, makes it actually, I think, more important to protect that tree, because the canopy that we need, our goal as a city is to get to 40% forest canopy across the city. So every tree is important, and I don't see any hardship here or any reason to remove this healthy tree. So I'll just move the staff recommendations.
Okay, and so moving staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. So, sir, sorry, unfortunately that was denied, and so we have moved the staff recommendation, which is to deny the permit. Sorry, thank you. Thank you. And, okay, so there are a few other, just two other items that were held, one by Councillor de Beermaker and one by Councillor Karygiannis. And so, Councillor de Beermaker, yours is trunk access enforcement, 678 Markham Road.
Yes, through you, Madam Chair, I just want, I'll move receipt, which is the staff recommendation. I do want to thank our MLS staff and our planning and legal staff for looking to try to resolve this. I have to say I've had some frustration that we gave a developer, on my watch, permission to build a very large supermarket, which was a good investment for that owner. I'm sure they're making a fair rate of return, and I have no issues with that. But we asked for a very simple condition, is that the big transport trucks delivering all the food to this very busy food market on Markham Road north of Lawrence not go through the residential subdivision. There's 2 driveways out onto Markham Road, no problem whatsoever, but it appears that over time, the drivers and the people working in the large supermarket have said, you know what, it's easier for us to go out and cut through the residential subdivision than to go out onto Markham Road for some reason. So it's been an ongoing issue that the arrestor will be mysteriously broken and removed, and then it takes us a while to go and chase them down, like sort of a cat and a mouse game. And last time I talked to the manager of the property, he said to me, well, it was teenagers who damaged the truck arrestor. They climbed up on it and broke it. I've never, in my decades of living in Scarborough, I've never seen a bunch of teenagers. I've seen teenagers do many, many things. I think Councillor Hart, as a former general manager of Parks and Recreation, can attest teenagers do all sorts of things in our parks and across the city. But I've never seen teenagers climb up on a truck arrestor and have it conveniently broken so that all the trucks going into the back of the supermarket can cut through the residential subdivision and it not be fixed by the owners for months and months and months until we did encourage them a little bit more. So I'd like to thank staff for that, but I do think we'll have to look at some of our site plan approvals, because I was told by staff from a legal perspective, if it's down, well, guess what? We'll have to take them to court to uphold the condition of site plan. That could take us a year. So, some of these characters would gladly do that, let it just remove it for a year, put it up for a week, let somebody mysteriously knock it down again. So this has been a bee in my bonnet for a little while. I'm glad staff have resolved it, and I hope it stays up, and I hope it does respect, and the owner of that property respects the adjacent residents, because that's the promise that he made to them at a public meeting. It's a promise he made to me, and that's a condition that we put on his approval, and I just hope he upholds it a little bit better in the future. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And okay, move receipt. All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. Thank you. And Councillor Karygiannis, this one was to withdraw. Have you had a chance?
Madam Chair, I've been advised by staff this is regarding SC 3011. that
Yes.
There's an old bylaw, and they will be putting up the signs again, so I'm fine with that. Thank you.
Okay, so we just have to move to withdraw this item for the agenda. And so moving that, all those in favor, opposed, and that carries. Okay, great. And so that, great, okay, yeah. So here we go. We've ended this council session. We're very expedient here at Scarborough Community Council. And Councillor Hart, you have a motion to introduce and enact certain bills.
Yes, thank you, Chair. That the Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as bylaws Bills 552 to 555 and 575, prepared for the May 2nd, 2018 meeting 30 of Community Council.
And shall these bills be passed and declared as bylaws? All those in favor? Opposed, and that carries. And Councillor Lee, you have a motion to introduce and enact the confirming bill.
Before I read that point of privilege, just now when I spoke, I forgot to thank my colleagues here for the, working together, and also my community associations who are left that has worked with me to make sure that their communities are looked after, and also my staff that was here earlier. We're all working together to make the city work, Scarborough work. Okay, so with that said,
We thank you.
I move that the Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as a bylaw a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceeding of Scarborough Community Council acting under delegated authority at meeting 30 on May 2nd, 2018.
Sorry, okay, and you have a point of order, sorry.
Of the mover?
Yeah.
Honestly? So does that mean if you lose very mature, you're not coming back?
Hey, it's a future question that I cannot answer right now. See, I'm answering like a politician, like a true politician, all right?
Thank you. And so shall this bill be passed and declared as bylaw? All those in favor, opposed, and that carries. Thank you, Councillor Lee, for your service. It's adjourned.